Welcome back to Horror with Nadia, and today I am talking about episode 3 of Agatha All Along. I'm going to give some thoughts on it, but before we get into it, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I am trying to hit 500 subs by Halloween, and every little bit helps. Thank you for all of you who have been along with me. Get it along the way. Now, with that totally out of the way, let's get into the episode. Oh, and warning, there will be spoilers for this episode. So if you don't want spoilers, turn back now. Come back after you watch the episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get into it.
It's exactly how I pictured it.
Yes. Suits you.
So, episode 3 is titled Through Many Miles of Tricks and Trials, and that is another lyric similar to the first two episode titles of The Witches, the Ballad of the Witches Road. In this episode, we get our first trial for the Coven. Now, while this episode isn't bad, it's kind of predictable. There's a ton of red herrings thrown in our faces, and I'll talk about a couple of them later on. The episode opens up with where we left off with the Coven as they're traveling down the road, almost covered in these blue-like leaves, which is, I think, a nudge to what's to come in this episode. There's an interaction where Jennifer asks the kid about his parents, and a sigil hex keeps him from talking again about who he is, where he's from. He's still able to say, well, maybe they're asleep. If it's nighttime here on the road, then it must be nighttime in the real world. But that doesn't make sense because in episode 2, he told Agatha his mom died. So either he's lying or the sigil is making him not remember who he is or where he's from. And a side note, sigils in Marvel come from chaos magic, which is similar to what Wanda uses in WandaVision. There's theories that this kid is William Kaplan or Billy Kaplan, Wanda's son. And in the comics, during her marriage to Vision, Scarlet Witch used a reality alternating powers to create twin boys, William and Thomas, from two lost souls, similar to what we saw in WandaVision. Later, Mephisto, yep, I said the name, Mephisto, reclaimed those lost souls. However, those souls have been so transfigured by Wanda's magic that they destroyed the demon and dispersed. The soul William apparently was reborn as Billy Kaplan, who was son to Jeff Kaplan, and Rebecca, a psychologist living in the Upper West Side of New York City. Now, that's in the comics. I don't know how that's going to play out since we've seen Billy and Tommy already in both WandaVision and the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Well, I'll be. Someone's put a sigil on that boy.
So they stumble across a beach house, and similar to the Wizard of Oz scene where they are walking into a field of poppies on their road to, Oz, they begin walking onto sand. So the road transitions into a sandy path. And now, something you might have missed with the door of the beach house is that it is a full moon, and a full moon is associated usually with a water phase, which plays later on with it being a potions trial and the house flooding. In witchcraft, the moon is tied to magic, with the strongest time for magical users being a full moon. And again, Agatha's necklace is also associated with the different phases of the moon, represented by the maiden, the mother, and the crone. Now they find a bottle of wine and realize they will have to drink it. And there's a great scene here where Jennifer and the kid exchange, where she tells him basically, watch your back with Agatha, that she traded her son for the Darkhold, and we get what everybody's been waiting for. Everyone, hold on. They drop the word Mephisto.
Others say he might be a demon or an agent of Mephisto.
Part of me thinks, well, not part of me, I pretty much think this kid is probably Agatha's son or a version of his son named Nicholas Scratch in the comics, who is a witch of his own with a coven in New Salem. I really don't think this is Billy Kaplan. Kathryn plays Agatha very well in this episode. She's stubborn, selfish. She only looks out for herself. It's only at times where it's convenient for her that she does help the other witches in the coven. You only see maybe an ounce of softness to her when she gives Jen a pep talk, I guess, if you call that, towards the end of the episode, where she's telling her, like, I left you alone because I knew you were doing good, which indicates that Jen helped a lot of people with her potions with healing. The trial is basically that they all have to drink some wine that is poison and have 30 minutes to figure out the antidote, or they'll die. And the only one not to drink is the kid because he's underage and technically he's not part of the coven. Side effects are they start to get a swollen face, they start to hallucinate, see things, and each witch sees something different related to her past, which was the intriguing part of the episode for me. I wanted to see a little bit more. It had me hooked in. Why are they seeing these things? So Sharon unfortunately sees the worst of it, I think. She sees her husband being choked, similar to the scene in WandaVision, this poor woman. Uh, Lila sees a death over a girl that she follows, which could be related to something she said in episode 2, where she would, tell the future even if it was tragic. So maybe they came back at her. Alice sees her mom, which was really kind of creepy too. Talking about her mom was talking about how she felt her mother died, Alice's grandmother, because there's a curse on this family. Jennifer sees a doctor who I think maybe probably did something to her to remove her magic because she uses that as a line later in the episode as well. And Agatha sees the Darkhold in a bassinet. So again, related to the fact that she gave up her son for the Darkhold, which I really don't think that's what's going to be playing out in this season.
It's working. It's working, right?
They eventually figure out the potion, get the hell out of Dodge, and back on the road where we find Mrs. Hart is dead. Will she stay dead? Who knows? This is the witch's road, and shit can go sideways basically anyway. Also, I want to note something too, which was really cool on my second watch through. The leaves changed to red, so I think the next trial will indicate something to deal with fire along the way. All in all, not a terrible episode, but as I said in the beginning, a bit predictable with how it's laid out. I did enjoy the sneak peeks into everyone's past through their hallucinations. And if Miss Hart's really dead, then I have a feeling we're going to see Audrey Plaza Rio return in the next episode to fill that gap. And poor Mrs. Hart, by the way, kidnapped during WandaVision, held against, and then kidnapped and dragged onto the witch's road, and then has to see hallucinations of her husband choking to death almost, and then dies. So you know what? Hashtag justice for Miss Hart.
Sharon's dead.
Thank you all so much for checking out my review of episode 3 of Agatha All Along. Are you watching it along? Are you enjoying it? Not so much. Leave me your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, beautiful folks, stay spooky.